Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with another Fans Forum special and another special guest. Yes, it's George. No, joking. We've got George and we have the main man himself, Neil from For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Make sure you smash the like button and hit that subscribe button. We've marched on past 5,600. We're on the road to 6,000 subscribers. So please do like and subscribe and get your comments in, get your questions in for the boys tonight. It's your show. Fans Forum is your show. We're going to cover the running, obviously. We're going to talk a bit about Emi Martinez and transfers, and we're going to talk Villa off the pitch as well with the new kit. We've got a new kit coming before August the 1st in the following season. So what is the world coming to? Neil, great to have you on, mate. How is everything going?
Everything's going good. Yeah. We're supposed to get rain here in Ireland today for the first time in about 4.5 weeks. So hasn't come yet. So until that happens, I'll be the happiest man in the Northern Hemisphere.
Well, this is it, mate. This is it. I live in sunny Newcastle, so travel a bit for the games. But yeah, it's been bright and sunny up here as well. I haven't had rain for a while, and yeah, mate, let's keep it going. We don't want this miserable British weather to come anytime soon. So let's keep the sun shining. What's it like in Watford, George?
Yeah, right, lads. Yeah, it's not too bad down here, to be fair. It's been quite a nice day today. Always probably a bit warmer than it is up there and out in Ireland. So I'll take this over yours, boys, I think.
Yeah, well, you'll be walking around in the mornings in your shorts, posting your letters and all that, mate.
Yeah.
Getting your t-shirt tan. Good. Right. Well, Manchester City Bournemouth haven't done us any favours tonight, Neil. So It is going to go right to the wire. Last game of the season. Before kind of talk about the run-in and what we expect. I mean, Villa have been on an incredible run this last sort of 10 games. And I mean, regardless of result and what happens on Sunday, to put themselves in this shot after, I guess, that Crystal Palace game where people thought it was all over, they've really turned it around and been on a fantastic run. 8 wins in 9. It is fantastic form, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, I know that how would I put this? I'm of the opinion that you have to break a league down into 3 separate parts. And there has to be a definitive start and end to those 3 separate parts of the league. And the reason being is because you think at the start of the year, you've got international breaks. One comes hot on the heels of the league starting, and it's just an annoying international break. And then you basically have those truncated breaks up until March. But after March, that's usually kind of like, to use a golf parlance, it's kind of like that moving day. You know, after that, I think it might actually be February now, isn't it? The international break. Could be wrong on that. But you got to move. You got to start playing well after that, and you got to be, that's when you really need to show form. Specifically, if you're a kind of a mid-table team looking to get into Europe, if you're a top of the table team, you're probably showing form the whole year anyway. So it's just a case of not dropping off. So what I'm getting at here when I say this is that since Aston Villa since the start of April, end of March, start of April, we've been pretty rock solid. It's not only just, you mentioned there about the wins that we've had. We've also had as many wins in our last as many clean sheets, I think, in our last 9 games as we did in the 43 previous games that we played. So we may come up short. And there's no point in saying that we won't. We may come up short. We may come up short on goal difference. We may come up short in points, or we may come up short in points, should I say. But what people wanted was, during the season, they wanted Unai to get it right. He's gotten it right towards the end of the season. So my big feeling of it is that even if we don't get Champions League, we can say he's fixed something within this team. And the proof is in the pudding by our winning, by how we finished out the season winning, and by how we started keeping clean sheets. But we can also then, at the same time, hold the same thought in our heads to say, yeah, it is a bit disappointing that maybe we didn't hold that clean sheet against Bournemouth, or that we didn't score that goal against Man United when we drew 0-0, or that we let Forest score 2 goals in the last 8 minutes to beat us 2-1. They're also very valid points as well. But where we are in the season now, we are at the position where we're doing all we can to get into Champions League football, and we can't replay those games that we didn't do it at the start of the season.
Yeah, bang on. And George, you've talked a lot about sort of Villa going back to that 2023 style when Emery got us on that run to get into the Conference League and just being difficult to beat, structured, solid, and we seem to lose that a little bit sort of times throughout this season, and where we were games like basketball games and really sort of transitional seems to be the funky word. Well, essentially we're giving the ball away and leaving ourselves too light in defense. But that's been a massive marker for me these last sort of 10, 11 games where we've kept so many clean sheets, we've been much more structured, much more solid. And it's like I said, it seems to have been a bit of a throwback to that 2023 Unai Emery Aston Villa.
Yeah, for sure. I just think, with especially the away games, we've found it quite hard, and I think Unai's been a little bit confused throughout the season about how to approach them. Obviously, we have a great season last year and get 4th. And I think he kind of thought that our style might sort of evolve and we might be able to play these away games with a bit more style and keep trying to dominate the games. But we found out it wasn't really working for us. I mean, we were getting up until the good run, up until like January, we were getting some real tonkins away, weren't we? We've gone away to Newcastle, Chelsea, Spurs, even up until Palace, and we're shipping 3s and 4s. And I think he realised that, you can keep winning at home, but if you're going to keep getting pasted away every other week, you're not really going to get anywhere. And, recently the away form has improved. It might not be quite as exciting. It may be back to like 40% possession, but it's worked. It's worked in the past and it's working now. I mean, we've just turned over Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton, like 3 proper tough away games for most clubs, and we've come out on the right side of each one of them. And, and as you said, the goals we're shipping now have completely sort of, it's slowed down a lot, isn't it? And, I don't care if we win 1-0, keep winning 1-0, mate. It's got us back into back into the mix. And, the season, sadly for us, it's coming to an end a few weeks too early, isn't it? But, as Neil said, if we do it, mate. It's at the moment 8 wins in 9. You can't ask for much more than that. And obviously we're looking for a little bit of a favour from Forest, and obviously we've got to do our job. But if you'd have told me as I was walking out of Selhurst Park about 6-7 weeks ago, I was really pissed off. I thought 8th, 9th, it's going to be. I didn't see the run that we're on now coming, and fair play, because we had a lot of injuries this season, haven't we? And I think getting everyone back. And, for the last, 6-7 weeks, we've had pretty much a full squad. I know you've lost Tielemans and Rashford just recent, but compared to the injuries we had early on, this has been a good spell for us. And it just shows the quality we do have if we can avoid them.
Yeah. PJJ says we were crap defensively first half of the season. We've sorted that out now. I think that's basically what we're saying.
Yeah.
Coming to Sunday's game, Neil, and I'll talk the other teams' games and the permutations shortly, but how are you feeling about Manchester United away with the history of Aston Villa against Man United at Old Trafford?
I woke up this morning, I didn't care about it. For the first time, I'd say ever. I didn't care about going to Old Trafford. A week ago, I was kind of going, it's just, I wish it was any other team playing on any other day in any other ground. Like, give me prime Barcelona in the new camp, and that was my mindset. But now I'm kind of going, Man United are ghosts. Like, we're afraid of a ghost with Manchester United in Old Trafford. And that's fine. That's all well and good when you're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're okay. It's okay to be afraid of ghosts then. But as time goes on, and as the legend of that ghost diminishes in your brain, you too should act accordingly and not be afraid of said ghost. So that's where I kind of am at the moment. I woke up and I said, Villa, as a Villa fan, I should be puffing my chest out. Every second person you meet here in the street, they're a United fan or they're a Liverpool fan. And I'm kind of going, we're going to do you Sunday. Like, and we may not get Champions League, and they're like, oh yeah, you're going to beat us Sunday. We don't care about it anyway. We just want to win on Thursday. And I'm like, no, it's big for us. It's big for the club to go and beat you guys in Old Trafford. There's only been 2 winning goals in recent memory, and one has been scored by Gabriel Bonahorn, the other one by Courtney House. We need somebody else to come in there and to do it. Now, whether we do or not, I don't know. Obviously, I can't tell the future, but I'm not as worried about it anymore. And that's why I used the ghost analogy, because it kind of hit me this morning. And I went, I don't know, is there anything to fear from this team? So just like a ghost, there's nothing to fear. They aren't. To the best of my knowledge, they're not real anyway. So, to the best of my knowledge, also, Man United aren't a threat this year. So we should be puffing our chest out and going there and beating them. I know it's not as simple as that, and we could very well, fail to meet the moment at the weekend. But time will tell on that. And but until then, I'm going to be confident that we're going to beat Manchester United, regardless of where we play them.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'll get your thoughts in a second, George. So AVFC says Spurs and Manure take tomorrow to extra time and penalties. Yeah, that's what I hope as well. That's what I said on the Loaded Mag, boys. Today, I think penalties and extra time would be great. PJ said it's a graveyard, so Ghost is about right, Neil. Yes,
I was on TalkSport during last week, and they asked me that. They asked me how do I feel about them to go to United, and that's exactly the word I used. I said it's the graveyard for Aston Villa, 3 points. But at the time, I wasn't. I wish I had my Ghost analogy then, but I didn't. I hadn't formulated it, and I wasn't feeling as confident as I am now. We hadn't beaten Spurs, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's run it out and let's win again, and create an extra level of history for Unai Emery, because obviously we've won the most games in a single season since the 70s. So let's go on and extend that now. Exactly.
And he also said we're going to batter them, Rich, for once. And Kevin said we are going to put this Old Trafford curse to rest once and for all. And yeah, James said they're a specialist cup team. And as the old Ghostbusters, Peter says, I ain't afraid of no ghost. Yes, exactly, mate. Exactly. George, Old Trafford, that's always been your nemesis. In our group chat, you're always like, we'll never beat Man United. We'll never beat Man United. They'll always come back to haunt us. What are you saying this time around?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I am one for the history, but at the minute, it's not doing us any favours having that attitude, is it? We could sit here probably for an hour and run down all the heartbreak that Man United have caused us over the years, especially up there. We've had enough at Villa Park as well. But, it is what it is. That's the history. At the minute, it feels like we are a better side than them. But saying that, we've been arguing that toss for about the last 3-4 years, and somehow we still keep getting it wrong against them. But, they're 16th in the league, for God's sake. I think if we just isolate this as a single game, forget who it is, the run we're on, 8 wins in 9, we're the team that, like has got something on the line here. They've got their big game tomorrow night. They could end up with the Champions League as well. And, I know everyone's got their opinions on that. If they win it, they win it. They knew at the start of the season that a Europa League would get a Champions League place. So if they do it, fair play to them. But yeah, we've just got to turn up and do our job, be professional, and see how far it gets us.
Yeah. And this is the thing, Neil, we've got the squad to solve any real issue. If we are 1-0 up and we need to shore up the game, we've got the substitutions to make to kind of shore it up. If we're drawing, we've got the players that can come on to change it. If we're losing, we've got pace to bring on, or we've got players that we can bring on to make an impact. This is exactly what Unai Emery's wanted, and this is what's a lot of what our good run has been built on, is the ability to change players and make that, and have players to make that impact.
Absolutely. It wasn't always that case this year, and
exactly,
once again, I go back to my 3-part season that we had. We started off the season full of hope for the Champions League. Then the mid part of the season, we were like, anybody play defense? Is there anybody here that's over 6 foot that can stand in? Because we had no defenders, and now we're a team that is, realistically just missing Yuri Tielemans through injury, which is a big miss, but still, the weekend just showed that we can bring in Amadou Onana, has one of his better games in an Aston Villa shirt. I did an interesting piece. I haven't put it out or anything today, but I did a kind of statistical analysis of all our midfielders and looked at them last year towards this year as well. And I know the sample size on Amadou Onana is small, getting bigger, but still small. But I was actually blown away by some of the numbers he had compared to what I've actually seen on the field. And your eyes can lie to you, and the numbers can lie to you sometimes. So it's going to be interesting to go back and kind of self-scouting him afterwards, after the season is finished, to see that maybe, in games he was playing, maybe I was looking the wrong way, for a lot of the stuff. But bringing him in, I think, is very, very important. And I think he's going to be the man that starts as well in Old Trafford. Yeah. And we need to get those legs moving forward, because I think curtailing him into just a 6, he's not that comfortable with. And we saw against Spurs at the weekend, he was able to stretch his legs, and he was able to, to get a bit further forward. And I think it suited him a bit more.
Yeah, and that's where he's dominating. And I really liked a bit more physicality from Villa of late. Against Bournemouth, they like to put big challenges in, and we were standing up and we weren't taking any prisoners. Same with Spurs to a certain extent. I know Onana's a big part of that, but even before him, when we stood up against Newcastle, and we've known how sort of they've dominated us physically, and that's what I've enjoyed, George, in terms of that. That kind of, we could maybe have been criticised for having a bit of a soft centre at times, or not sort of imposing ourselves on a game to then allow our good technical players to come through, or to show after 60, 70 minutes where our quality can shine through. But I've been really impressed with that of late.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just showing another side of your game, isn't it? As I said earlier about the Brentford, the Bournemouth, the Brighton games, all tough games. And they're the sort of games where, you can get bullied. We've been bullied loads of times this season, last season. Having Onana back in there, it does feel, obviously you're going to miss Tielemans. There's no doubt about that. But just having Onana, he's a big old unit. Him and Kamara, I think that was the plan from the start, was to have them two at the base. For whatever reason, it's not happened that many times this season, mainly through injury. But when you look at them, I think it gives the opposition, they might have a preconceived idea that we're, soft centre, nice tippy-tappy team. But when you see like Onana, 6'5", big old unit in there, it changes the game a little bit. And I think we might have caught teams on the hop in the last sort of few weeks.
Yeah. PJ said, Onana's a good old-fashioned box-to-boxer by nature, and could he be the new Ian Taylor? What do you think?
Got that same rangy look about him, hasn't he? The long legs and that.
Yeah.
Scoring a League Cup final that we win. And
that'll be good.
I think that's how you ingratiate yourself.
Exactly. Guys, over 200 now in the chat, which is fantastic. We're on X and on YouTube, so please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you are on YouTube. If you're on X, follow us at Villa Park Pod, at Fowler Legend, and obviously at Love McGrath Pod too. Follow Neil if you're not already, and like it, repost it, whatever. Try and get as many of us watching as we can. Let's have a look at the run-in. We know that Bournemouth couldn't do us any favours. Manchester City won in the end 3-1 tonight. So they go on to 68 points. So they move into they're moving into third position now in the league. Villa drop out of that top 5 as it stands. What are you thinking, Neil, moving into this? I mean, obviously the game that everyone's going to watch, apart from Man United Villa, is the Forest-Chelsea game. Forest have to win to have any opportunity. But Newcastle against Everton, Man City away at Fulham. Can you see anything else? Any other surprises coming up as well?
I think the Newcastle Everton game might be a bit tighter than people think. No, watch Isak have a hat trick in the first 15 minutes. But after me saying that, but the reason that I say that is I'm kind of reticent actually to be 100% on that. Last game they played, they took off They took off Brantwaite. They took off Dwight McNeil. They took off Doucouré. And one of the things that kind of annoys me at this time of the year is that players are putting out there, I won't be coming back next year and I'm leaving the club messages. And there's 2-3 games left to play.
Yeah.
So Abdoulaye Doucouré has been a big player for them. He put out a message to say he's moving on to pastures news soon. Ashley Young, so on. So we can look at that in two ways. Is that going to spur them on to absolutely want to, to grab that brass ring before they're going, to give them a massive win before they leave, or are they on the beach? So like in the Iliman Ndiaye, or however you pronounce his first name, he gets 2 goals at the weekend. He's playing himself back into that team. Obviously, the other thing about Everton is players are going to want to stay around there that are in around that their contracts aren't up, because there's going to be money flowing through Everton. There's going to be money flowing, going to Bramley Dock. The likes of him hitting form, the likes of Mikalenko, the likes of Adrisi, Ganagay that's going to be in there, James Garner. They're all going to want to stick in around that squad. That could become collateral damage from a PSR point of view if they want to spend big. So who knows? Maybe that last game. But then again, there's another point of view. The club have what? The club have 4,000 minutes on them already. What's another 19 minutes going to do for them? Whether is it going to save them from a cull or not? So you just be hoping, because they're in a relatively safe. Well, they're actually in a really safe position. They can't go any higher. They can't go any lower. They're in 13th place, if I'm not mistaken. But you just hope that they want to set a tone for moving to Bramley Dock. And I'm really clutching at straws, but I'm hoping that that Everton can do us a favour, because all we need is, if we win, all we need is one team not to win.
Well, that's it. That's it. Exactly.
That's the beauty.
Yeah. And what about Fulham, George? Do they've had some good results against teams, particularly at Craven Cottage this season. Some of the big boys, so to speak. It's not going to be as easy as Man City think, is it?
No, of course not. No, it's a tough place to go, Craven Cottage. They've done very well this season. I've watched most of that City game tonight, and they did look pretty decent, to be fair. I mean, 2 absolute cracking goals there, the first and the third one. You'd imagine City, the disappointment of the weekend, losing out on the FA Cup. They looked a bit more business-like tonight. And to be fair, they actually played well in the cup final, I thought they was a bit unlucky there. But, fair play to Palace. You'd imagine City, they've been in this position over and over again, haven't they? They know how to get over the line. So I expect City to do what they need to do. But, banana skin for sure. But as Neil just said about Everton at Newcastle, that game gives me a little bit of hope as well for some reason. They were saying,
goal.
On Moyes' form. Yeah, on Moyes' form since he's gone in at Everton, they would be 8th if he'd been there for the season. And, and they've gone from being really like roll over shite, weren't they, really, Everton, to back to how Moyes' teams are. Steely, not rolling over for no one, and you're going to have to work hard to beat them, as we found out in his first game when we nicked to 1-0 there at Everton. So I think Isak could still be out. So I wouldn't say that one's an absolute given. So it's all to play for. Chelsea Forest, that could go either way. Could be the draw. It should be an interesting day.
I think I've got a feeling that Forest Chelsea becomes a draw. I just got a feeling that they could cancel each other out with that. Obviously, we've got to do our job first. And British Mix said there's so many permutations. Just hope we can do our part, because we'll be gutted if we draw and another team draws. So I do hope that, and as people were saying, an early goal would be great. And I do think we'll do our part in terms of getting the win, and that's all you can ask, really. That'll be more points than we achieved last season. In terms of 69 points, we got 68 and got 4th last season. So it's like an athlete. If you get your personal best, then you can't really ask for much more than that. And that if we get 69 points, it'll be a hell of a points total not to get into Champions League football.
Absolutely, 100%. Like, would be I think going back through it, I think it's. Oh God, I'm just gonna say it. Tell me if I'm right or wrong in the comments, guys. I think it'll be our 5th ever highest total points total. 4th ever highest points total. I think it is. Obviously when we finish 2nd, but I can't remember if that even includes the when the season was curtailed down to 20 teams in the league as well. So somebody do the maths on that. I really should have written it down before I came on because it's been a long day and it's completely slipped my mind. But yeah, like so, and here we go. Here's the beauty of the whole situation, or I suppose the beauty of sport in its way. We finished on 68 points last season. We stutter. We fall over the line with a bloody nose because we literally from January until May, we were running on fumes. This year, we've gone completely the opposite. We've had a Champions League to remember, getting into quarterfinal and running who I think are going to go and win the thing. Really pretty much ragged in that game and almost getting there. We got to an FA Cup semi-final. Yes, we didn't perform, and it was probably the most horrendous game we played all season. Actually, every game we played Palace was probably the worst game all season. But now we're on this massive run and we could finish with more points this season, yet feel despondent at the end because we didn't get Champions League. And that's what makes sport a funny old game, and that we would actually have surpassed our performances of last season, which we all remember so fondly, this season by getting more points, obviously, which is an irrefutable metric. Getting to a Champions League quarter-final and then also kind of coming away feeling a bit flat from the year if we don't get Champions League again, which is why I think if we win, the football gods can't be that cruel, can they?
No.
Everything goes against us.
There's too many permutations.
That's it, Peter. We're currently on our 5th highest Premier League points. And if we get this and if we get onto our 4th, then so.
Yeah. And this is it. There's so many permutations, and I think it also changes throughout Sunday. Villa get a goal. All of a sudden, Newcastle are a bit tense, or Man City are a bit tense, or Forest get a goal, and all of a sudden Villa are like, right, come on, let's go for it. All this could happen in the space of 90 minutes. It is going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy, boys. I think it's going to be mad.
Do you think a lot of this is going to ride on how United get on Wednesday? Because if they do win that Europa League, Old Trafford's going to be bouncing come game Sunday, isn't it?
They're going to be still 99%
They won't
champagne.
care, mate. They won't care.
They will be absolutely loaded for 3 days afterwards. There's no point. Like Old Trafford can be rocking all at once, but if Fernandez hasn't shaved in 3 days and Harry Maguire is still trying to find his boots and half of them are still back in Bilbao, no, it's not going to matter. I think they would be mad to not go in and celebrate something because they've been pilloried. They've been absolute and it's been a rotten season for them. And Amorim will just if Amorim's paying for staff to go to the game himself, he's surely going to have a crate of magnums of champagne afterwards. Even if Ratcliffe won't fork out for it. No, I think they will go balls to the wall celebrating this one, and I think they should because I don't think that they owe the Premier League anything this year being in 16th position. Yeah,
and I think it will be on a bigger scale than what we did last year at Crystal Palace, where the result just had the fans did not care one jot about the result.
You never got out of concourse, did you?
No, and the players were pretty much the same as well. So I agree with Neil. I think they'll also, regardless of if they win, if they lose, I think he puts quite a few of the young lads out. I think he looks to if he loses, it's kind of right. Let's look to the future and let's sort of put some of the young lads in to maybe freshen up and obviously the place will be a bit toxic as well if they've been beaten. If they win, then again is he going to risk some of the sort of more established players after they've played on Wednesday? They've been out on the piss or for the 3 days. I think he puts some of the young kids in. I really do.
And extra time is going to have a big bearing. The game doesn't start till 8 o'clock. You're an hour ahead. You're in Bilbao, so really it's 9 o'clock in Bilbao. So therefore, match goes to extra time. It's the bones of midnight. You're going to then do a bit of celebrating. You're going to be flying home then on Friday. You're not going to have any training. It's just going to be rest recuperation day Friday, Saturday, and then you have a game on Sunday. For me, and the rest recuperation could literally be, Salpadine and a couple of Capri Suns to try and get over the hangover. So from genuinely, humans are humans, professionals are professionals. I know that's a guarantee, but I'm all for United winning this. I'm all for win it and absolutely and go to extra time and do what you got to do and have the 45,000 penalties like you did against Villarreal when Unai beat you guys. But for me, it has no bearing. As long as if you guys win it, I think we're winning on Sunday, because I think they're going to be on absolute fumes.
Yeah, Stephen says he won't. He'll play the same players. He has no game plan. Or we'll see. We'll see. British Mixer, we just need to keep Harry Maguire quiet. How far they have fallen. This would be good to get your two perspective on this, and then it takes us quite nice into sort of the next sort of segment. Kay says it'd be such a good slap in the face to all the pundits that doubted Villa to perform this season with having Champions League if we do get top 5 this season. I don't know if you. I think you might have commented, Neil. I can't. I know you've put a few things on X. Did you see Match of the Day the other night where they just basically didn't mention Aston Villa for the top 5?
I think it's written into Danny. What you call him's
Murphy.
Sour Danny, as I call him. Yeah, Danny Murphy's contract that he just is allowed just to forget Villa existed. If it was anybody else, I would have said, okay, easy mistake to make. I think Murphy just didn't bother mentioning us just because that's his thing. I don't know what kind of a bee is in his bonnet about Aston Villa, but he's always sullen, depressed looking, almost agitated and angry looking whenever he's to discuss us. Whenever he's on TalkSport and he's to discuss us as well on the radio, you can hear a tone of voice change and stuff. I don't know what we ever did to him, but it's par for the course, so I don't really...
It was just bizarre. It was just bizarre, and I think Sam's mentioned on TalkSport today they were talking for a couple of hours and didn't mention Aston Villa at all. And it's just like we're the team in 5th position, and no one talked about us getting 5th. I know you mentioned it, George, about it kind of not being in our hands. I think that might be, but even just to comment on that, Villa need to beat Man United and, hope a couple of results go their way. It doesn't take that much research. It doesn't take that much of a sentence. But I also know, in your perspective, George, that you like to go under the radar. So are you kind of look? They can be like this. It doesn't bother you. It's not a problem.
Yeah, no. We were that club last year. They didn't really sort of. I think any chance last year as we started falling away, Keane especially, and the old Man United pundits. Oh, I fancy United to get it now. I fancy United to get it now. They were pushing it. We're not that. We haven't quite got that profile, have we? The media, we're not quite top news. We're a decent club, but we're not. The Super Six, and they're not bothered about us really. But I'm not really asked about that. Just we'll do what we need to do, and then if it does happen, we can celebrate it. And they can catch up and have to talk about us after. I just find it's lazy journalism, and people like Danny Murphy, I don't think they don't like Villa. I just don't think they can be asked to they're so trained in their big 6 clubs and what they know and, the narratives. When a Villa come along, they've got to work a bit and they just don't want to.
Yeah. C. King said he loves it when they underestimate Villa. We've obviously got quite a few comments about Murphy. James said, talk. Darren Bent said we played a weakened team after a Champions League game this time, but he didn't know the game because it didn't happen. Yeah, well, that just proves George's point. They don't know what they're talking about. Kevin said Villa are a real long-term threat. That's why. Gaz said there's no pressure on us. I don't feel any pressure. And
I think it's important as well to back-to-back qualifications for Champions Leagues for teams that aren't called Chelsea, Manchester United, Arsenal, and I suppose Man City or Liverpool. Those 5 teams. Spurs did it 4 years in a row. I think it was 15, 16, 17, 18. They did it 4 years in a row, which was really the making of them. Gareth Bale was obviously their talisman at the time. Poch was over them, all that kind of stuff. That was the making of Spurs. I'm trying to remember, did Newcastle United do it a couple of years in a row? I know they qualified. I think they did, back in the early
2000,
I think it might be 2001, 2002 or something like
Bobby
that.
Robson's team did
that.
Bobby Robson, Jermaine Genius was playing for them, and that was that when at the time.
Yeah,
I know they did it in the late 90s as well, didn't they?
Yeah, so I'm looking at they had 2 second place finishes in 95, 96, 96, 97. And then they finished 4th in 01, 02, and they finished 3rd in 02, 03. So I would imagine that's that they did it there. I genuinely can't think of any other team that would have done it. So if we do it, that makes, let's call it the top 6, if you want to call them, plus ourselves in Newcastle. So there's 8 teams that have done it back-to-back years. Now, I will go so far as well as to say that I'm discounting Newcastle's too. The ones in 95 and 96 and the ones in the early 2000s. And the reason I'm discounting it is because because the amount of games was less. Well, I won't even say the amount of games was less, but the amount of consequential games was less. I would even go so far as to say is that the standard of the Premier League wasn't as high octane as it is now. People are going to disagree with me on that. I think that's fine. I think that's also based in the history bracket. 95, 96 is based in the history bracket. Spurs, I would say, yes, that's 10 years ago. That bears more relevance to where we are today. Plus, also, we don't have an Alan Shearer like they had when they were qualifying too. So, like, if you've got someone who's scoring 30 goals, you should be qualifying every year. It's mismanagement if you don't. So, based on that, I'm going to put us up there as being the best team, even outside of Spurs, because Spurs had Spurs had a London advantage. I'm being roasted into glasses here. So this will be the best achievement of any team ever in the Premier League of all time, better than the Invincibles. And anybody who wants to debate me on it can, because I'm going to be as facetious and obnoxious about it as I possibly can.
Mate, I know one man who would agree with you, and that's Kev. Just a shame he's not on, because it would have been the. We had Justin on the other week. That was the most positive fans forum we've had. I think this one is getting there already. So that's we just love the positivity. And Michael said, "What happened to that disrespectful Spurs fan, Deji? I love Deji, but as Neil has just said there, I made an official petition to get Aston Villa added into the Big Six and Tottenham pushed out of the Big Six. That was my official petition this season. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Boys, in terms of top five and what it would mean for Villa, I guess in terms of the transfer market, we've already seen one or two stories. We're already seeing us linked to one or two players. We're also seeing players linked out, and it's been talked about that we potentially need to make this sale before June the 30th deadline. Well, how do you feel, Neil, before with regards to top five in terms of what strategically Villa can do in terms of the transfer market?
Again, look, there's kind of no smoke without fire with regards to some of the rumors we've had. Look, obviously the big elephant, the big penalty-saving, shot-stopping elephant in the room is Emi Martinez and what's going to happen there. Look, PSR Spectre is going to hang over us until June, but I am really looking forward to the 30th of June coming and passing and us passing that PSR thing. The other side of it is, as I said, that not a lot of teams have had to really worry about squad cost ratios as well previously. I think Villa are now confident in their ability to be able to qualify with the manager that we have to qualify for Europe. We'll have done it 3 years in a row. They're probably thinking, why can't we do it 10 years in a row now? Because of the way this league is built and the way that we play in this league, we are a competitive team. And if the way Europe is built now to get down to 8 places, should I say? For me, I'm thinking that we should really be able to, lean upon that and lean upon our coefficient. So therefore, we are going to have to bring the wage budget down. So that's my filling done, basically, on answering your question. I think Villa are going to be competitive in the transfer market. I think we're going to find a way to be competitive. I wouldn't be surprised if we sell. There's been rumors that we're going to sell a portion of our women's team. I think we're going to do all the dark arts. And you know what? I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say, do them. Not my problem. It's not my problem. And if the rules have been opened up, let's abuse them. Let's abuse the loopholes all over the place. Because like all the teams there at the top have gotten there by doing that. So I think we'll find a way to be good, to be able to be competitive in the transfer market. I think we will also be smart in who we purchase. I think there will be Morgan Rogers style project players that will hit the ground running that we will buy. But the big elephant, as I said in the room, is going to be who do we replace Emi Martinez with, and that's going to be an interesting one now to see what's done there. I've got a few thoughts on it myself. I've got a scouting series coming out on players that some players we've been linked to it, and some players that we haven't. But I've never scouted a goalkeeper before, so I actually had to ring a lad I know and tell him, what the hell do you look for here? Like, does he stop goals? Yeah, that's about all I know from him. So we'll see. We'll give it a go anyway and we'll see what happens. I never hoped to have to want to do a scouting series on a goalkeeper, but unfortunately, maybe the time has come.
Yeah, potentially. Kevin said, riddle me this, George. We qualify on Sunday and the camera points to Martinez. Is he still leaving?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, he's half got a sorry little face, Emi Martinez. Jesus Christ.
Let's get it up again. Look at that.
Don't.
Look at him.
I was at the game Friday, and I just spotted him. And I was right up the back, but I could see his puppy dog eyes, and I had to turn away. I said to my mate, he looks like he's off, and I can't be looking at Emi Martinez. If he does that again Sunday, he'll have that away end in tears. I'm telling you. He knows how to make everyone feel bad and feel sorry. I mean, it's kind of come out of, there was rumours, wasn't there, about Saudi, but this all of a sudden happened a bit fast for me. And they're saying there's no offers on the table for him. So is this just him deciding he wants to quit the club? He's giving it 5 years or whatever, and maybe that's him saying, look, it's time for me to go. But until are we touting him about? Is he the one that has to go for the PSR?
This is it, isn't it?
There's a lot of questions to be answered yet, so I guess we'll have to we'll wait and see. But it'd be a huge loss if he does go, and we'll be very sorry to see him depart.
Yeah, well, some of the stats for him: 210 appearances, 65 clean sheets, 72.1% save ratio. He's saved 20% of penalties. I mean, just in terms of he's up with the best as well. In terms of compared to the big 5 leagues, crosses stopped, goals conceded, passes attempted. Just a great goalkeeper for us, and even his personal achievements there, like best goalkeeper, the Ballon d'Or for the goalkeepers, World Cup winner, Copa America winner. Like George says, Neil, it is going to be, if he does move on, it's going to be extremely difficult to replace the character and the force of nature that he is for us in goal and the influence that he has. Atletico Madrid, I think, has been talked about. I kind of do see him at Atletico Madrid. That seems like a club for him, to be honest. But equally, we talked about Manchester United, and Alex Ferguson was always a manager who would sell players at a good value, but at a time when they maybe wouldn't risk becoming stale at the club. And I'm not saying that Emi Martinez will do that, but is there an element of there could be a bit of a transition time at Villa where some players are moved on at where they can still command a higher fee and almost freshen up the squad, freshen up the team, and keep people on their toes a little bit?
Yeah. Yes. I wouldn't be against sending any 33-year-old player in the squad except for a goalkeeper, because we know the goalkeeper. Emi Martinez is the type of goalkeeper that he's going to defy father time from the point of view. I wouldn't be surprised to see him still kicking about at 40. Or 40, well into his 30s anyway. So he's got
a long time to break through, didn't it, as a number one? So
exactly, yeah. So he's got a lot of tread left in the tires, from that point of view. All the permutations go around in your head. You go, right, so if Barcelona come knocking and if they offer you, I don't know, Ferran Torres and Hector Font and a couple of 3 players and 40 million, do you go, yeah, I rip your hand off there? 3 players and 30 million, do you rip your hand off at something like that? We know that in a way, there are goalkeepers out there that you can replace his ability, but the big thing for him is obviously the character, the leadership that he brings. Just he's a man amongst our team, like he's a colossus within the team. You can't. It's like
when strikers come up against him on 1v1s, like
he's an aura.
He makes it 70-30 in our favor, and that's the difference.
The thing I'm thinking that might have changed is maybe Barcelona have been in for him. There was a rumor doing the rounds that Inter Miami and Messi have cut off their conversations and contracts. Maybe Messi's going back to Barcelona and Emi Martinez wants to play with Messi at club level for a couple of years, because it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility for Emi Martinez to stay in Barcelona for 2 years, get the World Cup out of the way, and then go to Saudi when he's 35, 36. I think that's very, very plausible, to be honest with you. And if Messi is going to play in the next World Cup, he goes back to playing in European football, and is minded, I suppose, really at Barcelona. And the way Barcelona are going now at the moment is they're a team on the up with a very, very young squad. I don't know. There's like, it's obviously all hearsay. I'm not saying that any of that is true, but maybe he does just want to play club football with Lionel Messi. Like, in fairness, he's the best player to ever lace up a pair of boots, in my view. So it seems plausible in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't want to see him go. I'm very, like, as I say, himself, Boubacar Kamara, and much to probably the chagrin of a lot of people in the comments, and Ollie Watkins for me, are three players that I would not like to see leave. There are obviously others, like I wouldn't like to see Tielemans leave either. I wouldn't like to see Rodgers leave, but every man I think in this team will have his price, and that's kind of the way we just have to kind of look at it, I suppose, for the next few years until we get back to back Champions League. If we get back to back Champions League, we're on the pig's back, and that's a lot of backs in a sentence. But that's when we can start to look at, right, our finances are through the roof here, and we can afford to keep these players, and so on. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Seeking said we can't be sentimental. Ian said, for me, Emi Martinez has an elite mentality, a true big game player. When the chips are down, he is the one you want in goal.
And he lifts people with him. And you know what he does as well? And I know, sorry, I'm really hogging the segment, but what he does is he takes the limelight so that others don't shrink under it. Do you know what I mean? Like that game in Lille, he didn't care. He goes, if I make a mistake, I don't care. I'm just going to get up and I'm going to block more shots.
If I get booked, or I'll take the heat from the crowd. You boys just put your penalties away.
Yeah. And then the other people who maybe aren't as strong-minded or don't have that psychological kind of colossus that he is, they don't get that limelight maybe, and he shields them from it. So that's a very mature. We might look at him and go, "Oh, he's at his antics, he's shithousery or whatever." But there's a kind of a maturity in that to be able to, okay, I'm able to take this, but there's other players in the team here that may not be able to. So I will take it. That's my leadership capabilities within the squad, and people will say, "Oh, that doesn't go on," but it absolutely does. Otherwise, everybody would want to take the first penalty in the penalty shootout, and there's people who shy away and cower away, are terrified of it. So it happens in sport.
Yeah. British Mix said he put sentiment aside. It's business. Emi would hardly been playing youth football with a dream of visiting Aston. If he goes, he'll fetch a princely sum, and Munchie has already shown his ability. I don't necessarily want to talk too much. Talk about potential goalkeepers coming in. I did a little transfer one about Joan Garcia, and then Kelleher's been linked. Might do a little bit on him, and I know Neil says he's doing his scouting series, so we'll catch that in the coming weeks as well. But George, Neil said he doesn't want to lose, the likes of Kamara has been talked about. He's obviously thinking about his future with his contract. Doesn't want to see Martinez. Doesn't want to see Watkins. What would you suggest in terms of, if we have to sell, how would you generate that money? Are you talking maybe a Jacob Ramsey move in? Who would you be prepared to sort of see go if it's got to be one of the sort of first team players?
Well, it's probably not a sexy answer, but it's not really our decision, is it? It depends who gets bids and gets offers for. I've seen so many Villa fans on Twitter sort of trying to engineer the perfect situation. But
this is it. When Deer or Dendoncker aren't going to be, Buendia may be a little bit, but Dendoncker's not going to command a 25 million fee and solve the PSR problems, unfortunately.
Exactly. It's just going to be like who do they want? We would always say like our prized possession now, our most valuable player is got to be Rodgers, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if someone tests the water on him, because you looking at the big boys like Tottenham, for instance, that's a club that's spending about 40% of their turnover on wages. If they want to go for it, they can seriously go for it. But for whatever reason, they don't seem to be bothered. But this year, with a 17th place finish, might actually kick Mr. Levy up the arse and sort of get them going. So, these big teams are still about, even though a few of them are like, sort of kind of going under the sleeping giant thing like we did for years. But, for me, like Bailey seems to be an obvious one now. Who seems to be coming to the end of his time at Villa. I'm not sure how much he would command. We're hearing rumours of Saudi interest and that. So I would say he's probably the most likely. But other than that, it's just guesswork, really. You know, as I said on here the other week, Rich, we was on, weren't we? And I kind of said, what about not buying no one rather than who we're going to sell? Have a year like Newcastle have just had, where they've not gone, haven't really added to their squad, but they've just kept what they've had. And, you know, without the injuries, I think we've got a great squad, you know, and it's proved in this second half of the season how well we've done. Could you just have another year and rather than keep spending the money on transfers, just, you know, just try and get through with what you've got and do it that way? But I don't know, mate.
Peter says we need to trim off the dead weight, run a tight ship. So kind of similar to what you're saying there. And
just on that, you know, I think the club have played a blinder with the players that they've sent out on loan. I think it's all, but I remember reading in late February, and I know he hasn't played a lot at Leipzig, that Leipzig were going to make that deal permanent for 15 million euros. That's 15 million. Buendia has put a good shift in at Leverkusen. Somebody will buy Buendia, and we will be able to name 15 million. Like, I think Buendia's only 28 as well, which is mind-blowing to me, like how young he is. He could be a 20 million pound player. And Leon Bailey, if Saudi want him, you know, you're talking 20 million minimum, I would imagine, there for an international player. Once again, only 27, I think, is 27, 28 as well. So, you know, you just add all those up there and there's your 55 million.
Well, what I was going to ask as well, Neil, was Kane Kessler-Hayden's had a fantastic time
bidding war
at Preston. Bidding war. We've already seen 5 million apparently from Coventry. It's moved to 8 million now because Southampton are potentially interested in him. Academy player, surely you can offset that, isn't it? Isn't it pure profit that offsets across 3 years? So 8 to 10 million becomes 30 million that you can utilize to offset across the 3 years. Am I right in saying that?
I can't figure out what the amortization is of and whatever kind of mathematics are done or bookkeeping kind of wizardry is done on that. But there's a reason why we're selling guys, you know, from our academy. And we've also just had we're talking as well, and you mentioned something there as well there a moment ago about, you know, maybe we start promoting, maybe we don't buy all these players, but I think we will. But let's say we don't. We've just got an under-18s team that have gone away and done the treble/double in the league for the first time ever. And they've been bloody good. You know, they've just been good. I know they're undercooked and they're not ready for first-team football yet. Probably outside of, I would say, potentially Hemmings in midfield. I think you could throw him in the League Cup game because he's a big, strong boy. And he could do the job. Obviously, Jim Oloba is there as well. But look, the club is going to want to progress as well and drip feed these guys in. But saying that, we've got 21s, we've got players on our 23 team. You know, we've got players there that were out on loan that we aren't even thinking about that might go for 2-3 million here or there. You know, there's
Louis Barry.
Yeah. Potentially, potentially, or maybe he's integrated. I think he signed a new deal as well, didn't he, for a couple of years? So maybe he gets one more loan go and then see what we can do. Like, the injury didn't exactly help him.
No.
But there's guys that are like the what was the guy we signed from Arsenal? Lino Souza. That went out
Bristol Rovers.
Who's he with at the moment? I genuinely forgot he existed until I mentioned his name there a moment ago. Look, we'll if whatever kind of youth team profit does come in, I don't think there's going to be a 15 to 20 million pound sale like we had with Omari Kellyman last year. But we could have a situation next year where we elevate Ben Brogio, let's say, and he becomes the Leon Bailey replacement or the replacement for somebody so that he maybe plays on the left. So, you know, we might do a bit of both. There might be a bit of freshening up the squad from internal as well, because there's no point having all these good players and not seeing what they can do, because they are an asset. They're an appreciating asset. Tons of them will get loaned out and their value will go up, a la Finn Azaz and all those guys. But I think the time has probably come to have one or two of them drip feed through into the team a small bit more, because the last person, as we know, to really kind of crack the nut on the first team was Jacob Ramsey. And, you know, you need one or two coming through every 3 or 4 years. So,
yeah, agreed. Carrie says get Russian Heber Murphy back on a free.
I think he actually tried out over here in the League of Ireland this year and he didn't make it, did he?
He's at Crawley, I think. want to say he's in
Yeah.
League
He's
One.
had a reasonable lower league career, hasn't
He's
he?
had a pretty decent season, yeah.
He did. He went to Swindon, and he's a he's a Crawley at the moment. Yeah. I think it was when he came back from Paphos. Maybe it was. So I'm looking at it here. When he went out to Cyprus, I think he might have got a run. I think it might have been Shamrock Rovers had him over for a trial, and they decided not to sign him. And then he ended up at Swindon, and
yeah. Seeking must have been listening to you, George. You must be a secret player in our group chat. The elephant in the room is Villa's wages.
How long are we going to be allowed to be spending 90% of our money? It just seems like a very reckless approach. But I guess that's the only way we can really compete, isn't it? Is on the wage front, and that's what they're doing.
I think it'll be slightly lower percentage, or hopefully. Not slightly, but quite considerably lower percentage of our turnover on the back of the accounts that come through after June. I think because obviously we've made a lot more money off the Champions League this year and Adidas and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, hopefully.
UEFA was saying this. I don't know if I think I've got this right, but over the 3 years we've had in Europe, it's supposed to go 90% to 80% to 70%. And I don't even think we've dropped below 90 yet. So as far as I can see, we failed that squad cost ratio, and they're going to be coming for us, surely. You know, I know people are going, oh yeah, take the fine. But we've earned a lot of money out of Europe this year. They could come and take all that if they wanted. I mean, I don't know exactly how that will work, but we look like a team that if they're going to have a pop at someone, we're ripe to be having a pop at.
The precedent that was set previously for this was Juventus, and the guy who's coming in to replace Heck. One of the big reasons I think he is a plus point for Aston Villa is not only he's a marketing man, he's a revenue guy, and he's done all front shirt sponsors, which we're going to need to change after next year because we can't have any betting sponsors. So he's going to need to get look for all intents and purposes, a proper company to come in and sponsor Aston Villa. But also he was the guy who negotiated probably the biggest was it fine that has been labelled out for the squad cost ratio stuff. You know, I think I did a piece in it, but as I say, it's 10 to 11. It's been a long day. So, but he negotiated that, and I think that's going to be in our favour because he is well thought of. He's obviously he's the love child of the Agnellis, so they all run. Along with the guys at PSG, all run essentially run UEFA currently at the moment. So it's a case of get a guy in who knows how the backroom corridor conversations go. And, you know, as I said before, especially about our financial loopholes, let's start playing the game like a big boy here. You know, do we want to be in Europe every year? Yeah. Well, then get people who know how to work the corridors of power, you know, within UEFA, and let's do it, you know, because we can sit here and we can say, oh yes, look at us chivalrous people doing it all the beautiful way. There's no club who's done it the beautiful way that's got there and stayed there. There just isn't. And I'm not saying that we're going to do anything wrong. We've somebody who's waded through the sewer of UEFA, you know, FFP and whatever else is there, and he's gotten out of it with a £10 million fine. Maybe that's worth it. You know, maybe he can do that again with Aston Villa. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Out of the trash list, UEFA fines have been low for the last few years since they were embarrassed in the courts. They don't really do bans anymore. Yeah. So
they won't ban you. Yeah, it was Roma and Juventus were just Juventus were taken out, weren't they? They were banned from Europe.
Yeah,
but it was the Roma one. I think this guy negotiated. I think it was only something like 9 million or 10 million or something like that. Then he negotiated it down to. But out of the trash, bang on the money again.
Good. We will obviously see what happens, but fingers crossed. And this guy will come in and negotiate all the deals he possibly can. Guys, we have over 350 watching us in the chat, which is amazing stuff. As Neil said, 10 to 11 on a Tuesday night. So please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're marching on to 6,000 subscribers. So please do hit the like and subscribe and get your comments in. Just to finish up in terms of the fans forum, we've obviously seen today the Bull Ring shop. I think for some people got a bit of a sneak peek on the new store at Villa, and we also saw a little teaser for what looks like the new away kit, Neil, coming out on Thursday. I mean, this is unprecedented stuff. Like Adidas, new shop, a kit coming out before the end of the season. obviously a little bit of PSR in there as well. We've got to get out and buy this kit, buy this top to put more money in the coffers. But really nice to see, and obviously going to keep Villa at the forefront and on the map.
Again, you know, going back, it's almost full circle in this. I said we're a different club now when we're talking about Man United. Got to puff out our chests and not be afraid of ghosts. We spoke again here about getting a man in who's traipsed the corridors of power within Europe's top clubs and dealt with UEFA. This is another step into being a grown-up club, you know, mature club, a club that's that's worrying about ourselves, that aren't worried about other people and are putting ourselves to the top of the queue. We're going to do, like, as I say, I'm looking forward with great anticipation to see what they release on Thursday. And like the sucker I am, I will buy it. Absolutely.
Yeah, mate, I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready.
The only thing I won't do is I'll buy it, but I really love, like, I don't know why, but when I was a kid, I used to never get names and numbers in the back of my shirts.
No,
but
I'm
I
not
know
one
what
for
it is
that.
the last few years. Names and numbers in the back, and I'm kind of going, I'm going to buy it, but I'm not going to get a name and number because I just don't know who's going to bloody be at the club.
Yeah, that's it. You don't want to jinx it. You don't want to jinx it. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but yeah, you know, as you say, it's a revenue generator. You know, over the next couple of weeks, that place is going to be flooded. And well, it's not going to keep Emi Martinez. It's not going to be the difference between keeping Emi Martinez at the club or not. It still does reflect the balance sheet. Also, what it does is selling that merchandise now will tempt future sponsors as well in, whether it's training ground sponsors. That's what this guy Calvo is huge about as well. He was huge on getting training ground sponsors and potential namings rights stuff for various parts as well. So I would imagine this is all part of the handover and the Chris Heck, whatever he wants his legacy to be. He's going to have to hand over a certain strategy towards this new guy who's going to be able to build on from there. If it is this guy that comes in, and it will be this guy that's going to come in.
Yeah. Out of the Trash also says Adidas pay us more if we're in the Champions League, so it's so important. It's not just 100 million prize money, sponsorship gate receipts, and Balti pies. Yeah, more Balti pies sold, but it is
golf gear.
The golf gear, yeah. We've got that. I mean, I looked at that. It looks nice. I might get myself a little golf polo shirt. It ruins a good walk for me, George. But you know, the gear's pretty nice.
That's the first I've seen of it, to be fair. But that did look nice, actually. Yeah, so I might have a little look in a minute when I come off here, lads.
Yeah. But it is a step in the right direction, isn't it? You know, a shop again in the city centre in Birmingham, and you know, like Neil says, releasing the kit before getting that. I don't know. It just makes the brand of Villa just seem much more rounded, much more professional.
Yeah, it's a long time coming, to be fair, isn't it? I mean, we've had seasons where you can't even get the kit till after the following season started. You know, so it's taken us a long time to sort of get our shit together. And you know, this is what big clubs do, isn't it? And you know, you've got to be nod the work of Heck and everyone behind the scenes that are sort of, you know, getting the ball rolling now. You know, it's positive, mate. And hopefully we've got some nice new Adidas merchandise next year, because I'm ready to spend another few quid and get some more gear.
I tell you what's funny is for all these years we've been running out of goalkeepers jerseys, and you know, you go on in mid-November looking for Christmas, you're like, what, I can't even get it. Like, I can only get small or extra small. This year they're so confident in their supply lines, they're even doing shoes. Now, if you're able to stock all the sizes for shoes, you better be able to stock all the sizes for shirts. So that gives me massive confidence that Adidas have really kind of stepped up to the plate in this one. And I would imagine they would, considering they're the foremost brand in world sport. So
100%. Boys, I think we're going to call it a night on this. Just one final question, and Ian kind of stole the fun. They knew what we were going to say in terms of percentage chance we think of getting the Champions League, but really it's just going to be a quick question. George, I'll come to you first. Champions League qualification for Aston Villa this season, yes or no? See, this is going to be I know it's going to be a no, because you would have said yes straight away. So
no, it's just not in our hands, is it? I think we can do our bit. You only wanted a yes or no. Yes, go on.
Neil?
Yes. I would be 95% confident of saying that we're going to Champions League. Then again, I remember when Villa stayed up in the last day after against West Ham, I was 3 weeks out from that. I was saying I'm 90% confident we're going to stay up, or 90% confident, and that was just complete another blind faith that came true. So I'm just doing the same again. Lightning might strike twice.
Yeah, I'm confident, and I will be there on Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. So anyone there, please come and say hello. Hopefully we'll be celebrating together after the game, Villa securing Champions League football. Neil, thank you so much for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if obviously we have so many viewers from your channel watching our channel, we have great Villa podcast viewer community. But if anyone isn't subscribed, please do subscribe to Neil's channel for the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. George, thank you very much for joining as well. Great to see you. We'll be back later this week with the preview for the huge game on Sunday. So stay tuned for that. I'll also do probably some transfer talk rumor shows with all the rumors coming through. So please do stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you smash a like if you haven't already on your way out. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.